Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin,
And I'm Josh.
and today we have a couple of things to talk about. Honestly, we are going to be in that slow season because we don't have any new shows coming out right now. So it's just kind of inching towards Ahsoka. Is the hype there for you, Josh, or is it just like, eh?
I'm not the biggest Ahsoka fan. However, I mean, I'm very happy that we're going to get something new to watch and finally get to see Thrawn. And I want to see basically every person who hasn't watched all that we have watched in the animated series for Thrawn. I want to see what they feel like Thrawn is like.
Yeah. Yeah, because for some people, this might be their introduction to everything that happened in Rebels, and without watching Rebels, it's going to be a very interesting reaction. Yeah.
So super excited for.
To go for before we go forward, I wanted to thank all of our followers on Patreon. You guys are amazing. We would not be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. We love you all. If you haven't had the chance yet, please go on our our Patreon on patreon.com. We have some exclusive stuff on there, and we have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you go on YouTube and Instagram, we have a bunch of new stuff rolling in. We have turned our Instagram page into a fact page, so we have a bunch of facts that are dropping, as well as as some fun memes and some other stuff. And then for YouTube, YouTube and Instagram, we have a couple of new segments we're doing, like here's the droid of the week, here's the clone of the week, stuff like that. Our first one dropped today. Go and check it out. It's pretty cool. It was made by myself and Hunter Smoke, so go and check it out. But let's dive into the news. First things first, and this is really sad, but Ray Stevenson recently just passed away. And it sounds like his last performance is going to be in Ahsoka. It's very tragic because not only did he perform a couple of roles in Star Wars, because he also voiced the character Gar Saxon in Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars: The Clone Wars, but he was also in The Punisher. He was in Thor as Volstagg. So it was very tragic to see him leave so soon. But I feel like he left a legacy of great characters behind, and his future in the Star Wars universe is unknown, but I think everyone's going to be blown away by his performance in Ahsoka. And seeing him on stage over at Star Wars Celebration when he came out, I remember seeing like a big applause. And you could definitely, yeah, and you can tell that he was a Star Wars fan as well. So I think this role will you'll definitely be able to see the passion in the role that he does because he is a Star Wars fan. So I'm super excited to see that. But what was one of your favorite roles that he did?
I'm just okay. Honestly, at this point, I have been looking at all those photos of his new costume for Ahsoka, and that has me absolutely blown away. That's the main thing that I've been wanting to look at. But I mean, him in Rome was great. Loved him in Rome. But I mean, he's an extensive log of different stuff that he's done on screen. It's sad. I'm really excited to see what he's like in this new show. Sad that this is going to be like our last time that we get to see him in Star Wars, though. So, yeah.
I mean, we still don't know that much about his character. It hasn't been confirmed, but it sounds like he's going to be a Jedi that survived Order 66, and then the person with him is his apprentice, and they fled and into the unknown regions, and now they're back. And then we know his lightsaber is not red; it's that orange, reddish color. So it's definitely that's what Dave Filoni said. So I'm just the messenger. Do not make that face at me, Josh. I'm just
I don't know. Okay. It's an orange red, so they're not bad. Well, you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, there was that shot in Jedi Survivor, and I thought that was a tie-in, and I told you that, and you're like, no, dude, it like has to be the settings on your TV. There's no way. And I was like, I'm telling you what I saw. All right. Were they planning a sequel to the I again, we don't know the future of his character. Because
all the photos that we've seen him in, it's just him in the like that kind of like training ground place. So it's interesting. I still have no idea about him. I really like the costume designs. And his lightsaber looks really cool. But besides that, I mean, and what Dave Filoni has said, he's like his character's a mystery. And he's definitely one of the aspects of the Ahsoka series I'm most intrigued about.
Yeah.
New Jedi or new people with lightsabers, and especially like ones that look red. Always exciting for me.
Yeah. And then in other news, we have Natalie Portman she was in an interview recently, and basically she said that she shares interest in returning to the Star Wars universe as Padme Amidala. I don't know how to respond to that because I think that would be great. I know we talked about it this morning of where like would she come back like as her doppelganger, like one of her handmaidens.
I think that would be a great fun show, and I really think that they could do it where you just have what it's like afterwards. Like we've already had the comic series and stuff of the whole Vader pieces.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like we could do it. We could do it. I'd love to see it on screen. I'd love to see it in live action. I don't know how she would either return for something new that wasn't a flashback at this point. And that's it. She at least has a way to come back, which is cool.
Yeah. Because if she came back as one of her handmaidens, I'm just like, she's not a clone. Like her handmaidens look like her, but not exactly like her. The person that looked like closest to her was Sabe, which was played by Keira Knightley. But she's came
older now,
right?
So it's kind of like you can still kind of change it up to where it's kind of like I feel like they knew her ins and outs so much, and I think that they bring it up a lot in the books and the comic series of how much they absolutely knew everything to do with Padme to be able to copy and do things just like her. So I wouldn't doubt that they're going to have a point where like they could easily throw her in and be like, this is how she looked, this is how she talked, this is how she walked, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because in the comic series, they still continue to do it. It's not like they go off and do their own kind of like super personal way of acting. Everyone's like, you look exactly like the queen. And they're like, okay, yes. So.
Yeah. Yep. It will be very interesting to see what they end up doing with her character. If they end up doing like a prequel to the prequels, and they end up doing live action Clone Wars, which is something I feel like everyone wants. Could you imagine seeing Hayden and Ewan and them come back and maybe they de-age them just a tiny bit and they do like a short series of where they have the clones come in? I don't know. I personally think that would be cool. I don't
romance series, all right, a romance series where we get them both back in and they're both talking to each other, de-aged a little bit. And it's just
Annie,
a love story.
Oh, Annie, it's okay to not like sand. It's totally okay. You could turn it into like a sitcom. And
something I've always wondered is why we've never gotten like an Anakin and Obi-Wan like Jedi trial kind of thing.
Well, that basically was the book, The Brotherhood, and that kind. I don't know. I
See,
mean,
like that seems like
yeah.
such an easy like stretch of time to do something with that I've always wondered why we've never done it.
Yeah. Well, I say go for it because we know there's a lot of actors that really would like to come back. For example, Sam Jackson wants to come back. He really, really wants to come back. So I say, boom, Mace Windu, perfect. Like in that series, if it ends up being flashbacks, I'm fine with it. And we know that there's gonna be the world between the world stuff happening in Ahsoka, but we don't know to what extent. So it's gonna be amazing to see. It's gonna, yeah, yep. All I want, and I think this is something that a lot of people want is just a live action scene of where you have what.
Just a live action scene of when an Inquisitor comes in flying on their Inquisitor
Well,
lightsaber.
yeah. Well, yeah. But I think a lot of people wanted a live action scene of where we have Hayden and Ewan and Rosario Dawson like talking like a flashback in the Clone Wars, and it's just like a quick battle scene. We know it would be a very expensive scene. The scene could be like 5 minutes long, and that could just mean like something a lot to Ahsoka, and she's just walking past a portal, and she's like, "Oh, hey, look, wow, I remember that." And then that whole scene is like over like millions of dollars because of just like the battle happening in the background.
All I could see is them doing like, if they're gonna do one, it would probably be the perspective of all three of them kind of like looking out over something, but you're not gonna see their face. You're just gonna see it from behind them, so they don't have to like bring back the actors, maybe just the voices.
No, don't
I could
do
easily
that.
see that.
No.
I don't think they would put that much effort into doing like a full 5-minute scene.
I don't know. I could you imagine like of just one episode of Ahsoka opens like a galaxy divided.
Awful.
Oh man, I would be so pumped. But yeah, that show comes out in August. Sounds like it's going to be at the end of August, and then we have the show Skeleton Crew, which is happening at near the end of this year, and then we have Acolyte at the beginning of next year. So
exciting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we have the new Star Wars game that's coming out, and Josh and I were just talking about this right before we started recording.
And it's interesting to me because I don't think how many do we get everything that we were going to get from the PS5 that they're talking about?
No, they are still dropping stuff right now as we're podcasting.
Okay, because they've got that new weird handheld thing and
yeah,
like AirPod thing, and they're posting a lot of different things, and I know that they're going into their whole like VR setting and stuff and doing all that. I hope that they release more things on the game. We just know right now that they have to go ahead and with their Avatar game first. And unfortunately, the Avatar game will probably come first before Star Wars. I've looked in the Avatar Discord. The last bit of news that they properly had for the game was back in September of last year. So we're coming up on a year of information. I know that they could easily blame it on COVID, but right now has been really, really good because you've been seeing movie trailer and then the movie's like, hey, we're coming out this year. Like the newest Dune trailer came out and they're like, this year, November, this year. Like game trailers, it's coming this year. It's like, it's not, they're not getting as nearly delayed because the whole COVID-19 is completely done. So where we're at now, so much better. I think as soon as we get this new trailer from Ubisoft for Pandora, then we can start moving into the Star Wars thing because that is the number one project from Ubisoft right now that needs to pop off. I think what they got was a Assassin's Creed Mirage trailer, and that was from Ubisoft. So I was kind of like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, they They said on June 12th is when they are going to have their other PlayStation showcase. Yeah, their other PlayStation showcase, and it's uh they are doing one right now, and they've dropped the gameplay trailer for Spider-Man.
Mhm.
But it sounds like maybe it would come out early. So it sounds, yeah, because if they're saying right here that it's going to be coming out maybe early 2024, and by early I think they mean maybe spring. That's my guess. But I don't want them to do what they did with Eclipse, where it's like they show this amazing trailer, we're all blown away, and then we're like, hey, guess what? It's not coming out until 2026, possibly, 2028, and then we're just sitting there like with this glorious game trailer for a very long time, and they have nothing to show for it, which is very unfortunate. But there's a lot of games that are in the works right now. I think the open world game is probably the biggest one that a lot of us are really looking forward to. As long as it's co-op, that's my biggest thing. I really want
We
the
don't
game.
have. I think single player games right now are in a very good headspace, and unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, we still have an occupied space for an MMO style game for Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
So for the horizon of MMOs, I don't think that we're going to get a big multiplayer game like that is like an open world side of things. I would love for Bethesda to go ahead and do one that allows like a multiplayer kind of feel to it, where you're able to explore different parts of the galaxy and do what you basically like and still have your MMO options, which used to be like Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah.
But
I honestly would even let Rocksteady take
would be interesting.
Yeah. Because could you imagine of just
cool.
walking on the streets of Tatooine? There's a land speeder that's about to take off, and you walk up to it, and you just yank them out of the land speeder, and then take their land speeder.
That would be pretty
funny. Yeah. No, oh man, I think that's been a dream for such a long time.
There's a lot of single player Star Wars games. There's not as many multiplayer games, online multiplayer games, as you would think there would be for Star Wars.
Right. And I honestly, it was kind of sad when they didn't make the new Lego Star Wars game. Like at least co-op to where you would be able to play with a friend that wasn't with you in the same room.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
They because never did that, did they?
No, because of which is funny because they re-released the original Star Wars Lego game, and then they gave you the option to play with a friend online, and they didn't do this for this Lego game, which I think,
and it's weird to me because I feel like wouldn't that be a big thing because we were in COVID times at that time. It's kind of like, why wouldn't you?
They also were kind of slacking on the customization and DLC. They added a bunch of new characters, which I'm just like, oh, cool, great. But they didn't add any new planets for those DLCs. And then they just added the characters, and they didn't add any new missions. And then, no joke, on May 4th, I was surprised that they added anything. And the only thing they added was Star Killer. No, not the character Star Killer from like the Force Unleashed games, but the concept art that Ralph McQuarrie made of Luke Skywalker, and that was Luke Star Killer. And they just put him in the game, and then it was like, happy May 4th, here's this, and that was it. And and for a while there, they didn't even touch the game from there. I love the game. I love Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, but
whatever happened to Star Wars Hunters?
I think we talked about that last time too. It's been delayed. I played the demo for Celebration, like in California, like Anaheim,
2 years ago, dude.
and that seemed like the game was like all set to go, and I was like, that would be a fun game to play with a bunch of friends, because it was a console game, but it was also a mobile game, and then there were weird obscure characters where they had like a couple of Jawas that were standing on each other's shoulders, and then you could upgrade their blaster, and then
That's
you
funny.
can fight different people. I think there was a Wookiee Jedi in there. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I enjoyed it. I was like, the game definitely wouldn't be canon because there were a lot of obscure things in the game. But honestly, I think that would have been a really fun game to play online with friends, because it wasn't it definitely was cross-platform.
I'm just wondering why it's just so up in the air when we had all this stuff in December.
You're preaching to the choir, man, because I would love to play that game.
Okay, I guess we'll just keep waiting.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, I thought they would have canceled it, but they still haven't canceled it yet either. So I'm just trying to think of what they're.
Isn't it by like Zanga?
Yeah.
Who's it by?
Yeah. Hang on. Yeah,
that's a good question, because you just think that like something would have been posted. Yeah, it is by Zanga. So it's like, and it was going to be on like Nintendo Switch, like on your phones and stuff. And I'm like, okay, guess not.
Could they wait until the off season and then they'll be like, all right, here's this game that we've had on the shelf for a while. Here you go. I'm just curious of what the game plan is for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this for this past weekend, I wanted to talk about it real quick because it was a lot of Star Wars stuff happening for me, because on May 20th and Saturday was my birthday, and I was with Star, Cap, Hunter, Hannah, and then the wife and I, and then my Garrison in Michigan, and in one day we had a photo op with the Clone Wars trio with Ashley Eckstein, James Arnold Taylor, and Matt Lanter. And then we had a photo op with Carl Weathers. And then I had a different photo op with Christopher Lloyd. And that was really cool. Christopher Lloyd got inducted into the 501st as a honorary member, which was super cool that our Garrison was the one to do it. And it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun. And then they got me a cake, and Star put they actually drew Max Rebo on there.
I know,
like,
funny.
Dude, I was so pumped. I was like, let's go. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was definitely like a Star Wars filled weekend. And then as soon as I got back, my Endor prison suits finally showed up, the ones that Josh and I were supposed to wear at Star Wars Celebration.
Thanks.
Finally got them. Jeez. Yep. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then we've got all the Indiana Jones movies except the fifth one will be on Disney Plus May 31st. And the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones will be on there too. And then we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That will be on that will be in theaters on June 30th. I got my tickets right away. It sold out pretty quick. I was kind of surprised by that, because of the reviews right now are very low for the film.
Well, wait, did you get them here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're in Disneyland. We're in that Disney World kind of.
Well,
everyone loves it, so I feel like we're in that one good spot where everyone's like, I need.
Right. Because I then looked at places in Michigan, like on that Sunday, and there's still full theaters that haven't even have like a single seat.
So what are the reviews on it so far?
Well, IGN gave it a solid 4.
Ouch.
Yeah, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a low score too. I don't know the exact score, but I don't know. I take I take certain reviews with a grain of salt because these are the same people that gave The Last Jedi a very high score. But then if you look at the audience score, it's very low for it. So I was like, I'm not going to listen to the. There are some movies where I will listen to the critics, but for films like Indiana Jones, where it's a sequel movie,
Mhm.
I take those reviews with a grain of salt because I feel like they are very particular on what they want, but they don't tell you what they want. So let's see what the Rotten Tomato score is for Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to know what it is.
Right now, it's at a 50%.
Oh goodness! Oh well.
Well, there's only 38 reviews.
Okay, fair.
I was surprised that IGN gave them a 4, like a solid 4. I was like, all right. And
What was the biggest cause for it?
I will read it. And hang on 1 second, because I read it and was like, oh, okay.
No Shia LaBeouf. It's a real sad.
No Shia LaBeouf.
How dare they?
All right.
It's my favorite character.
Here we go. So for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny fails to recapture Spielberg's magic. He really wasn't involved in this one, so of course, it's gonna be hard to recapture it. With uninspired action and conflicting themes and character motivations, it's proof that some things should just be allowed to end. And then the longer review is saying, by yanking Indiana Jones out of retirement yet again for a 5th and hopefully final movie, they prove that some things should be allowed to end. Earnest final efforts from Harrison Ford and John Williams couldn't rescue a film so directionlessness and haphazard or action that fails to recapture the swashbuckling joys of the originals. Dang.
Oh well.
Yeah. That's from and that's from IGN. So I'm just like, I'm so used to them giving like a solid 7 or saying things are too dark. So kudos to them, I guess. I don't know. I'm taking any review for this film under a grain of salt until I actually go see
I hope
it.
you can enjoy it.
I think I will. I don't think anything will have me baffled as The Last Jedi. I don't think, like, yeah. That's just my opinion. Because of as much as I love Star Wars, I think Indiana Jones, that character, Harrison Ford has a lot of control over that character of Indiana Jones. So I don't think he would come back for a film that was going to be bad. And I know a lot of people say, well, he's doing it for the money. And I'm like, well, the difference between Star Wars and Indiana Jones is he actually really likes Indiana Jones. He's not the biggest fan of Star Wars. He liked Han Solo, but the main reason why he came back for Force Awakens is because they promised him that they would fulfill his wish of killing the character off.
Finally,
right. So I think that for Indiana Jones 5, I know that Harrison Ford really loves his character, and I think it's gonna surprise people. I know that there's gonna be time travel. I'm just saying that right now because you can see it from the trailers, you can hear it from the lines. I haven't seen it yet, but it's definitely the seeds are planted there for that, and I'm really curious in how they're gonna do it and if it's gonna be in a very tasteful way. I'm hoping it's done in a tasteful way.
Hey man, I remember when we were gonna get that whole remake with Channing Tatum. Originally.
Oh no! It wasn't Channing Tatum. It was Chris Pratt.
Was Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
No
I
Chris Pratt. This is
well,
disappointing.
well, what happened with that is that Harrison Ford heard about that, and then I guess they run into each other, and then he's like, "I'm Indiana Jones. No one else plays that character, only me." And and then Chris Pratt was like, "Yeah, I don't have any interest in playing that character anymore." But I mean, I think it could have worked, but at the same time, if you think about it, it's Harrison Ford is that character, and having someone else play Han Solo that wasn't Harrison Ford was very interesting. I think Donald Glover did great as Lando. Don't get me wrong, but having someone else portray uh, Han Solo
I
is.
think he did a good job.
I think Alden did a great job too, but also that's a big. I don't.
I think
I'm
he did a really good job. I think he did a great job at playing a young Han Solo.
well. It's just the same with Luke Skywalker, right? You have them do all of the deep fake stuff that they did in Mando and Book of Boba. But could you imagine if someone else came in and played the character of Luke? Like it just wouldn't have felt right. And I know it's not, young Luke or I mean like young Luke
No,
to
I
where they could
mean
have
no, because it's a younger version. I think he plays a really good younger version where he doesn't have the same kind of level of maturity. Whereas I would say like Donald Glover's character is far more of a it's he's playing the exact same character. Like you could take Donald Glover's character, right? And you could see it's the exact same character even as he's grown up. Like Lando
yeah.
in the future and Lando as a kid are the exact same. However, I really like Han Solo's performance in this because they show him young, stupid, and doesn't like care about the consequences. When he gets older, he starts to give a crap about the consequences.
Right.
And I love the difference between the two and him growing up and being a better or more mature person in the future. That's the difference between those two performances that I really, really like. And I think that it's an underrated performance only because that movie didn't do as well as it could have.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Uh on June 30th. I got my tickets for June 29th. I got it on opening day. Um I know you said you didn't really have any desire of seeing it in the theater until like it probably dies down, right?
Either not seeing it in the theater, asking if it's worth seeing it in the theater. If not,
I have Disney Plus.
True.
And I
I
can
will
save money.
I know coming from me, people will probably think, "Oh, well, he's going to be biased and everything." But no, I was very honest. I was very honest about when the last Jedi came out. I was very honest when the Rise of Skywalker came out, and I will be honest about when this new Indiana Jones movie comes out. Just because I'm a fan doesn't mean I'm. Yeah, because a lot of people think, "Oh, he will like everything like that there is of Star Wars." I do, but that doesn't mean that I'd have to love it, right? So I am not going to glorify something that, that maybe isn't the best. So I will definitely give my honest opinion on the Dial of Destiny. And I'm hoping for the best. It looks great. I think time travel is a very interesting thing to do. And if they do it, I just hope they do it right because this movie takes place in 1969. You have this artifact that it's not like a DeLorean traveling back in time of where you can choose certain dates. It's going to be a dial, so it's going to be very interesting in how they do it. But yeah, exciting stuff.
do you think that they should do another Indiana Jones TV show? Like Lucasfilm should just do a series. Because I feel like of roles that you were talking about, Harrison Ford was just he cares about that role way too much to let anyone else play that character. Whereas like Han Solo he doesn't care about the Star Wars side. So it's interesting to me. Like I would love to see Lucasfilm put a lot of money into an Indiana Jones TV show, not necessarily Indiana Jones, but just the same kind of swashbuckling series. Because I think that the Uncharted movie was as close as we got to another version of that kind of feeling, but wasn't that great. I want a show that you basically have like the librarians, like that kind of show where you get to adventure around, like a new thing every week. I think that would be a very fun and refreshing return to form.
I think if they continued off the adventures of young Indiana Jones and the show led into the where it would maybe lead into Raiders of the Lost Ark, or they kind of filled in some of the time gaps.
So you still want it to be a time period piece? Because I was talking like, imagine if it's like closer to nowadays, like 90s wise, 80s and 90s wise.
Who are you talking about? Someone taking over the mantle?
Yes, yeah, like it's someone completely new. Because you were saying you're like it has to be Indiana Jones, and I'm like,
I don't know. I think when Indy leaves, I think that's where the only character that I mean, again, I don't know what's gonna happen to the goddaughter character in this series. But I think it would be great if they continue the journey with the character's short round. Because of we know the actor loves that character. That was his first job in Hollywood. And the friendships that he made along the way has led him to where he is in his career. I honestly think he would crush it. I think people would love it. And we don't know if he's going to make a cameo in this film. If he does, I would be blown away. We also know that there's other characters from different movies that will pop up in this one. But I honestly think that this movie would I think a short round show would be great. I wish they continued the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones because that show to me was phenomenal. It was made by George. It was made by George Lucas. The reason why the show got cut was because of the budget. But if that show never happened, we probably wouldn't have gotten the Phantom Menace and the prequels around the time that we did because they had to invent new technology. And they invented new technology specifically for that show. And then that opened up new roads that led us to the Phantom Menace and the prequels. So I honestly think that the continuation of Young Indiana Jones, if they found a way to do it, I think people would be blown away. And I think if they did the deep fake thing, because I don't think they're doing the deep fake thing exactly for the new Indiana Jones. I think they're doing the de-aging thing because there's certain shots in the trailer where it's like, oh, it looks great, but then like with different lighting, it's like, oh, maybe not. So I am very interested to see where the story will go from here. Because they were going to do a show. They were going to do an Indiana Jones show, but then it sounds like they announced, well, they didn't officially announce, but there was a report that came out that they didn't want to do anything that was not Star Wars. So all Lucasfilm projects going forward for a while is going to be Star Wars related because they tried that with Willow and their numbers weren't the best. And they basically said, your show's canceled, but it's not canceled. So all the actors that were part of the first season of Willow, they were released from their contracts, but the actors said that if they were asked to come back for season 2, they would. And it's because they were still working on the script for season 2 of Willow. So with the Indiana Jones series, again, I think they could do it. I think they just have to make it make sense. I don't want it to be.
I personally feel like it's just I don't want Lucasfilm's only successful property going towards the future to be Star Wars.
Right.
And I want them to be able to have something else. That's it. It's sad to think that if this doesn't, the last two projects that aren't Star Wars don't perform well, where the future of Lucasfilm will stand. And I don't know if we're gonna get anything else new through Lucasfilm.
Right.
So it's kind of like, yeah, it's hard.
As long as they, and for that show, if they ever did it, is that I would want them to keep it the way that it was. Like I wouldn't want them to put any modern twist on it. I would want it to keep Indiana Jones as Indiana Jones. I don't want it to feel like they have to put it like in the world of today, if that makes sense. Because something to me that was great about the films were there was no political message about it. There was no agenda. It was just a classic adventure movie. And that's what I would want it to be, of where Indy would go through his time and find things through history, and he would go after it. And there would be some, fun during the adventure. And then that was it. There was no agenda behind the film. So if they did a show like that, they would have to keep up that persona. That's my big thing about it.
It's because for me, it's kind of like I want to see more from Lucasfilm, because what we have from Lucasfilm right now that's assigned to them as franchises is American Graffiti, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Willow. Willow did not perform very well as a TV show. Indiana Jones, hopefully this film does good enough. Would love to see a show, just because it doesn't need to necessarily revolve around Indy. I would like just a museum being named after him, and then we get like episodes of the week where they go and try and find something specific. It's only just so that we can keep that franchise alive, because I don't like, people are like, yeah, you can just let it go, but I'm like, it's fun. I miss swashbuckling like tales like that. That spirit is just so much fun. And then Star Wars being the main one, it is what it is, but I mean, I'd like to see something else out of Lucasfilm.
I agree. Who knows what the future holds, man? But I know a lot. I think, depending on how this movie goes, is that will definitely determine the future of the Indiana Jones franchise.
If you were to get a Star Wars game to have a complete overhaul remake, which game would it be? Out of all the hundreds of games they've released for Star Wars,
I would want them to, which they're working on, which is the Old Republic. I want I want an open world game like that, but where I have more control, to where I just don't press the button attack and then I watch my character attack. I want full control of my character when I'm doing that. So, and it sounds like they're doing that for the Old Republic remake, right? Or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you played?
I played the original. I thought it was great. I just wish I had more control of my character. I think that was my biggest thing. But man, if they were to do a full out remake, I would probably say the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, and just
not one, just two.
I loved the first one, but I
Put
think
them
if
both together.
Yeah, just kind of blend them together, and then yeah.
And then if you had your ideal version of a video game that could come out for Star Wars, what do you think is missing from the Star Wars universe right now that would be a great game?
Open world multiplayer. That's the biggest thing that I think people would love, because as much as we love,
so like in the vein of Star Wars Galaxies, like where it's an MMO.
Yeah, like I mean, I want a game where I can hop online with friends and we can jump from, oh hey, I am gonna be a bounty hunter today, but tomorrow I'm gonna be a moisture farmer and just hang out. Like I want that freedom. And then what's beautiful about Jedi Survivor is that you have the planet Kobo, which is the largest map that we've ever gotten for a Star Wars game. And it's definitely got different terrain. And sometimes it feels like you're in a different planet, but you're still in the same planet. And I love it. It's massive. You have a lot of opportunity to explore. I want a game like that, but I want it multiplayer. And I want the customization to feel like it's not just different costumes, but you can something in the lines of what you can do for GTA. Something in the lines of that. But put
Okay.
that in a Star Wars game. Because that's been something in the works for a very long time. And I know a lot of people want that.
I
I
feel
want
like
that.
GTA is probably as close as you could get to of what you're asking for. The
I know.
issue comes with that MMOs are primarily a PC oriented game where you have like a turn based style of gameplay. And
Yeah.
it's hard to be able to make something where you can go off and do what you want to do and still have the MMO RPG kind of style.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like we have like farm sims and people want to play it like that, and it's hard to have not only you're asking for not only let's have a farm sim, you're also asking for let's have a Destiny style where we can all go and do missions. Let's have a GTA thing where I can go and do it's just so much to the point where it's like that undertaking is so gigantic that I don't feel like anyone's going to touch it. As much as I would love to, I would, yeah, because like Galaxies was already a gigantic thing, and that's why you don't see so much of the gameplay being to do with the combat. Like later in its life cycle, it got to the point where they were like, "Hey, we need to add a combat update." So that's where I'm sitting right now. I don't know if the technology is there. I want to see something with Unreal 5 at this point and see where they could push the technology.
Yeah.
It's just I see a open world game. I just don't see an open world MMO game that is in the style that most people would want.
Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, I think it's a pipe dream, but I think it's possible. Um,
Are you talking about Jedi Survivor or just Fallen Order?
I think they're talking about.
Because it says
Yeah.
this is for
Okay, I
Fallen
have a
Order.
question. The levels of Jedi Fallen Order seems off. Facebook user, are you talking about Survivor?
Oh, okay.
Oh, they are talking about both. Okay. Um.
Yeah, because it's like the Padawan side is kind of like your own story mission. I think the difference is because I know a lot of people just wanted to play Jedi Survivor and or Fallen Order because they like the story, and the jump up between the two comes when you start having your actual gameplay aspects come in. It becomes a lot more difficult because of the gameplay style. It is almost it's reactive, and it's the Soulsborne kind of style where the idea is that the longer you play it from the beginning, you're learning different ways to take down enemies, and you're learning over and over and over in time how to play the game, and that's the rewarding path. But in my opinion, if you play on Padawan, you're not learning that pathway. So as soon as you start like from Padawan and then you go up from there, boom, it's like a much farther jump into difficulty. Because it's like you have your story-based mode, and then you have your start of the gameplay, and it just goes up from there. Because you can completely hack and slash your way through Padawan, where you can't hack and slash your way through the rest of the game. You're gonna have to be able to focus, and like it slows down the game a lot more.
Yeah. 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 I mean, do you like to play on the higher difficulty more, or do you like playing on the
It
lowest?
depends. It's one of those games where it's the challenge is there, but for me, I don't feel like it's as rewarding as like let's say Elden Ring is when you start playing it on like higher, like the harder that game is, it feels more rewarding because it's like an open world feeling to it. and you're earning different things, and there's way more different like play styles, and it's all focused around the combat. Whereas this, I'm kind of like, I'm more into the story. The combat is, as long as it shows me everything I need to, from like, let's Jedi Knight, that's good. I don't need to play on like the higher, like really high difficulties to be able to show where I need to be. I mean, I'll do a couple fights with the highest difficulty on. I'll maybe do like try and do a boss battle with the highest difficulty on. But for me, the level of tune that I want it to be into, where the Soulsborne series is at, is not where Jedi Survivor is at.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say that last battle, the last battle with the spoiler alert at the end, that battle of Survivor was definitely a complete ramp up of like, oh my goodness, it is very hard. Like, I remember Ben told me, he's like, I tried to lower the difficulty just to get through one of the phases of the boss battle, but you can't switch it back during another phase. So he's like, I beat it on the easiest difficulty because I couldn't get through this one part. That was that last boss battle.
I would definitely like to. So for next week's podcast, at that point, I think it's okay to really dive into more spoiler stuff, because people have had the chance to play this game for like a month now. So I think we are past that grace period. We're also slowly posting more facts about the game on Instagram and all that stuff too. But we'll definitely talk more about how this game adds more lore to the Star Wars universe and how it kind of helps the franchise go forward. Because the way that this game ended too was it was very good, open. It definitely opens up the it opens up the possibilities of a lot of different things for the Mandoverse if they wanted to, or just other stuff going forward into the sequels.
It has something that I think a lot of people don't know what it is, but they feel this. I feel like Star Wars has a level of mystery that brings its fans together, its community together, to try and understand what's going to come towards the future. And I feel like that mystery and camaraderie is why the franchise is so strong. It's like you could watch the trailer for Ahsoka and go like, oh dude, who is this guy? Like it could be this guy, it could be this. It's being like, who is this person in the background? What does that lightsaber mean? What does that color mean? People in like Survivor wise are like, all right, so if this planet is here, like, is Cal going to be able to show up in that that movie with Dave Filoni, or is he going to die in this next game? Like, it's all this mystery and intrigue that I think this game of Survivor gave a very good kind of indication towards the future. Whereas I wouldn't say that the last Battlefront game did that.
Okay.
I would not say that, because we still have all this like mystery and intrigue, but no one keeps asking these questions. Why is Slave One outside Maz Kanata's palace?
Yeah, and that wasn't even part of the campaign. That was just during one of the normal missions, like of multiplayer, like of matches, and people went kind of towards the right of the castle, and you're like, oh, that is Boba Fett's ship. Why is it here? We don't know. We honestly don't know. But it's just like, how did Maz Kanata get her hands on the lightsaber? How did that happen? We don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions from the sequels that we still have no idea about.
And it's funny because you don't keep hearing people asking those kinds of questions, those really, really big ones that I feel like JJ had the little kind of like, it's the mystery box. Like, we're never going to tell you. It's whatever you think it is way better than, it's like, that is something for Star Wars that does not work unless it is mystical. If they had kept the Force mystical and not done the whole metachlorian thing, I think a lot more people would be happy with that. But it is what it is to this day.
Yeah.
There's still so many questions with it. I mean, how cool would it be if we get a whole Luke clone?
Well, the rumor is that the film that Dave Filoni is doing is going to be called The Heir to the Empire. And that is that storyline, right? Because it's got Thrawn, it's got like the whole clone stuff with the Emperor.
Mhm.
But they wouldn't put the Emperor in there. There's no way. Unless they did it like in a secret way, but the main characters can't know about it.
Mhm. So, do you think in that we're gonna see Luke on screen again?
Yes. I would be surprised if we didn't. Because of that is a big fight that is going to involve a lot of characters in the galaxy. I'm expecting maybe even cameos from Han and Leia. Like that's how I mean,
that'd be sick. Seeing that on screen again,
could you imagine
people
them
would
having
lose their mind.
like of them having a big fight? They like have the Millennium Falcon land, and then you have Leia, Han, Luke, Chewie, and Lando step off, and then you have like an entire fleet from the New Republic that shows up and we're like, all right, we're here, let's get started. Like, could you imagine that?
You got your like Zeb there, like all these people, like it's our Avengers Endgame level event, and I know that that's going to be mad hype.
Yeah. And I don't think people can really wrap their heads around it. Now, there's a chance that we might be overhyping it, but these are the expectations that I have. And I think Dave Filoni knows that we're not the only people that have these expectations. And he loves the fans. He loves he loves doing these kind of things, but in a tasteful way, where it's not in your face, of where it's like, look, here's Luke Skywalker. Look, it's not like that. It fits in with the story. And I think that is what he will do going forward. And the fact that he's got that with the film now, oh man. I also want Mara Jade. Who will play Mara Jade? Who knows? But I don't again, there's so much content that they can put into this. Maybe introducing her into one of the shows going forward, maybe Mando season 4, be pretty cool, because we in Legends we know that she was there at Jabba's palace. So it was just like there is some type of connection in some way. I would love to see that character come into live action. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah. Well, that's it for this week. Is there any words of wisdom that you wanted to leave us with?
Not that I have currently. I'm just really wanting to see when we're going to get some new Star Wars game news. That's my main one right now.
Yeah. They also have another showcase happening on June 12th, it sounds like. So sounds like we'll
wait till then.
Yeah, wait until then. One more quick question. What do y'all think about Lucasfilm getting a small group of diehard Star Wars 2 direct fan film, or would too many make a mess of a film? I honestly think there's a lot of great Star Wars fan films out there. They're all on YouTube. Go and check them out. There's a lot. There's a series right now which is some of the best effects I've seen for a Star Wars fan film, and it's called
Do you think that we could get a version of that's the thing though? I feel like they have you're like the difference is that the fans can make a film that doesn't have to technically follow where they want their storyline going.
Right.
Because I feel like the Lucas timeline right now is so inlaid in cannot be changed at all that it doesn't allow people to use as much creative freedom as they would like to.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have these fan films, you're easily allowed to go ahead and do what you like and bring your kind of world to Star Wars. Now, does that discount them doing that with Lucasfilm? I think that I would love to see where fans get to come in and actually do something with like Lucasfilm budget and do like a Visions kind of feel.
So they've been doing a fan contest almost every year for a while. And they don't have the budget of Lucasfilm, but they have the blessing from them to do certain films. And I know there is, again, there's a decent amount of really, really great Star Wars fan films. Because before I watched The Phantom Menace, I always watched that one with Darth Maul. Because it was a group out of Germany, I think, that made that, and that was amazing. Like all of the lightsaber combat, and that was just beautiful. You've got the series Bucketheads, and they have a big budget on that one as well. There's also the Star Wars Odyssey, which is really cool. There's a Bosk one. There's a lot. So if you have the chance, go and check out those fan films, because there's a lot on there, and people put a lot of heart and soul into them. I was part of a fan film called Star Wars and the Blood Crystal, the Dark Crystal, and I remember being on set for that, and that was really, really, really cool. So again, go on YouTube, just type in Star Wars fan films, and you will see a giant category of like the top ones that people have watched, and they're really, really good. Oh yeah. With that being said, please go on our YouTube, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Go on our Patreon. Our Instagram is at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Our Twitter is at Stuff Pod. Our Patreon is at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. Thank you again for everyone that is part of that. We're also on TikTok, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We also have an email, Star Wars Stuff Podcast at gmail.com, Facebook, Star Wars Stuff Group, and Star Wars Stuff Podcast page. Please go on Apple Podcast. Give us a review. We love hearing back from you guys, especially if it's all about David. We also have our new website. It's up, StarWarsStuffPodcast.com. We have news articles on there. We have our bios on there. We have a link to everything that I'm talking about right now. Go and check it out. We're also on Twitch, Star Wars Stuff Gaming. And this is not, like just the small portion of what we're talking about today. There is so much content that is happening, and that's going to be happening within the next couple of months. And we're here to break it down. And we love doing this every week. We love you all. Again, thank you so much for everything, listening to us. May the Force be with you always.